Very good. All you, Dan.
Okay, thank you again for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here. I will now share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, again, my name is Dan. I'm a product manager. I'm the CEO of Qotilabs, and I'm also the product manager of our main product, which is called Rich Filters. Rich Filters is all about Jira Dashboards. Okay, so it's all about dynamic interactive dashboards. And today, what I'm going to do, it will be a quick walkthrough of the functionality the application provides. So we'll look at examples of dashboards and what you can do with these dashboards. Then we'll spend some time building a dashboard together. We'll see how we can build a dashboard with all the features that the app brings, and then we'll go through any questions you might have. I need to say, so the app is available for all hosting options, server, data center, and cloud. I will use the cloud version of the product today, but the principles are exactly the same for all the other hosting options. Okay, so let's not spend any more time on slides. We look directly at the dashboard, and we will play with we'll see some examples of dashboard. So you see here, this is a Jira instance, a Jira Cloud instance, and this is a normal regular dashboard provided by Atlassian, but the gadgets are our gadgets. Okay, so what's special about the gadgets? I'll go through some of the features, but the first one, and which is specific to our app, is that we have a gadget called controller, which controls the other gadgets. Okay, so in this dashboard, I have like 3 projects. Okay, if I go here and click on project, I can see that there are 3 projects in the dashboard. If I select one of the projects, when I apply this filter, all the other gadgets refreshed and now show issues from that particular project. Okay, so now this is a dashboard for that project. If I go to the assignee field and I don't know, I select a number of assignee, imagine I'm the manager of these people. When I apply this filter, now this will become the gadgets will show the issues of those assignees in this project. So this is a dashboard for those people. Okay, so you get the idea here. Instead of having one dashboard, and generally when I was doing Jira implementation, it was like this. I had a dashboard for each manager, for each middle manager, for each individual contributors, each team, each project, and so on and so forth. You can have one dashboard which replaces all of that. Okay, so this is what we call here, this is a navigation experience, which allows you to shift the focus of the dashboard depending on the selection of filters you do here in the Rich Filter controller. And this entire section is obviously completely configurable and under your control. So we'll look later at this and we'll see how we can configure this. So now let's look a bit at the other gadgets that you can see on the screen. This here, we call it Rich Filter Results. Okay, this is a result gadget. This is a list of issues which you display in your dashboard. You can have several views, right? And because different people from different teams might be interested in different information, so that's the idea. Imagine people from management want to see some particular columns, so to look in a certain way at the issues, the product team might be interested by other details. So this allows you to organize the information you display in a way that makes sense for the users of your dashboard. You see here this visual markers, okay? So green team, orange team, and you see commitment and no risk here. These are not Jira fields, these are configurable visual markers, so you can use colors and tags like this just to highlight your information. You can, of course, display value fields like story points. You can sum up that in the footer of the gadget. You can display time tracking values. You can choose which color to use when you display those values, how to display time tracking fields. So here we choose to display time tracking fields in hours, because maybe this is what makes sense in your organization. To sum it up, to apply formulas in the footer. Okay, so this here we have business value and we display the average business value. So all this is under your control. Is about the users of your dashboards and the information you want to present to them, right? So it can be you can customize the header, and everything basically you see here. Something else you can do directly from the dashboard. Well, you can modify your issues. You have the issue dialog, and you go here and you, for any of the issues here, so generally you filter. Let's say I want to see only the top priority issues. I see the top priority issues, and then I can start modifying the issues. I can use this as a preview, but I can also modify my issues directly from the dashboard without leaving the dashboard page. Okay, so this is a rich filter results. You can of course export all of this. You can currently export it to Excel and CSV. Later this week we'll also have export to PDF. So this is our next release, and it's about done. You can bulk change all your issues. So this is particularly powerful when you combine filters and the bulk issue update. This can be very useful and very powerful when you need to update more of your issues. Okay, so now let's look at the other gadgets. Here we have what we call statistic gadgets. This is a counter. It just sums up issues. So here we choose to display the issue count. There are 158 issues on this dashboard with a total of 323 story points. You can display time tracking fields and sum them up and choose the color and the heading and the way time tracking fields are displayed. Again, here it is configured to display hours. The same goes for the other statistic gadget. This is a one-dimensional statistic gadget. This is a two-dimensional statistic gadget. Okay, so display statistics based on 2 dimensions. In this case, assign an issue type. Here it's 1 dimension because it's by priority, but I can display several values at the same time. So what's nice also about statistic gadgets is that they can become charts in just a click. Okay, we have this feature which you don't currently have on server. We have it. We introduced this first on cloud. Any statistics gadget can become easily a chart. Okay, and you can choose the type of charts you want to display, and the value you want to output in your chart among the values you configured for your gadget. So all this is about relevance. The idea is to allow your users to rapidly see the information that makes sense to them. And this is a 1-dimensional chart, and here we have a 2-dimensional statistic. So the chart which is drawn, it's a 2-dimensional chart. In this case, a cluster bar by default, but it can be a stacked bar chart. We can switch between the 2 dimensions to see them the other way around. It can be a line chart also. Okay, so the idea here is that you can play with your data. Generally, maybe you need to see a table of your issue in a table form, the results of your statistics, but sometimes in meetings in general, it might be useful that you want to see this data differently. Okay. Of course, we can display charts. So this is a chart here, and it's always displayed as a chart. This here, it's a created versus result, which is just an example. It's very useful when you are doing, I don't know, you want to monitor your backlog of issues. Okay, so all this here is configurable. Rich Filters is a toolbox for dashboards. It's not prescriptive in any way. You have many powerful features, and it's up to you, and you have the total freedom to combine those in any way you want, so that it makes sense for your users. I will now look a bit more at the controller again. So you've seen the idea. You can apply filters, and those are applied to the other gadgets. What I want to say here is that you have all sorts of filters. So you've seen based on fields which have predefined values, like, I don't know, assignee, you can choose your assignees, but you can also filter by dates if you want. For instance, here let's say only the issues that have been created since August and till the end of September, for example, and the issues which have 1, 2, 3 or more than 8 story points, for example. And if I apply this, so I can do any combinations of filters like this. I can filter by text if I want. This is obviously very useful, and now this filtering is applied. Moreover, if I look at my filters, I can by default I select issues which have one of these assignees, but I can also negate the filters. Okay, so I want to see issues which have one assignee which is not one of these people here, or issues. Let's say if we look by labels, I want issues which have these labels, both of them at the same time. So you can understand the power of this navigation tool, which allows you to rapidly and easily focus on data that actually makes sense to you. Okay, so we mentioned charts. This is a dashboard here which has different types of charts that you can display, so it's always useful for the users of the dashboards to see charts so that they can understand their data. All these are one-dimensional charts. This is what we call a tree map chart. Okay, so allows you, is basically like a pie chart, but just uses better the space on the screen. Here we have two-dimensional charts. Okay, so this is a clustered bar chart, stack bar chart, and line chart. And so, of course, all of this can be combined with the filtering provided by the controller. Let me now rapidly show an example of different type of reporting. So this, I don't know how many of you are using Jira Service Management. This is a dashboard here based on service management fields. Okay, so it's also about reporting. And here I have a dashboard where we have 3 different service desks. Okay, so in this example, this is demo data. I have a Paris service desk, one in Boston and one in Sydney. And each of these has roughly about, in this dashboard, in this example, 200 issues. And we display here for each of the 3 service desks the time to first response. So these are SLA fields, which are always very useful in in service management projects. You measure the performance of your service desk. So here we have the time to first response, the MET ratio for the 3 different service desks. So the idea here is that you can do cross-project reporting on your service desk projects. Jira out of the box provides reporting capabilities for service desk, but one big limitation is that reporting is not cross-project, and in many implementations you happen to have several service desks. Then you can, the same, here's an example where I see the time to resolution percentage MET, the MET ratio by month, and we look at this in the table form. And in general, in all these dashboards, if you click, if you click on any of the numbers here, this will get you to the issue navigator, where you'll be able to see the issues that enter in that number. Okay, so you can click in general on any number and you see exactly how that number was computed, and this allows you to do a drill down, then to see your data. And of course, this I mentioned already, you can switch this to charts. This is another example here where we monitor 2 SLAs at the same time. So one is the MET ratio for time to first response. The other one is the MET ratio for time to resolution, and with the average for each of them, the average time, so the time it took us to provide the first response and to the time it took us to solve an issue. This is also very useful if you monitor the performance of your service desk service management teams. And here we also output the satisfaction. The same, this is a time series here, which allows you to monitor different metrics of your SLA fields over the time. This is a two-dimensional statistics where we do statistics based on the service desk, but also the organization. So these are service management specific fields, organization, and the customer request type here on the left. And we can use this in statistics. Of course, you can display a metrics in different formats. You've seen this already, like line charts or bar charts or table forms, or I don't know, you can do pie charts and all types of other charts that that makes sense for the data you want to present. These two here, this is a gauge gadget. You see the gauges for the performance of the time to first response met ratio. This is also a gauge gadget on the left. It's just that here we display the bridge ratio for the two SLA fields in this example. And the idea is that you can combine this with the filters from the controller. So if I want to see the performance of the Boston service desk, I click on apply filters here, and now all these numbers are going to refresh and will show the metrics for that particular service desk. Or I can see this, I don't know, by a sign. Let's see how myself I'm doing here. So I apply this filter, and then all the metrics will this becomes like my reporting dashboard with my own metrics, and you can easily see your results, I don't know, for each individual or for a number of your customer request types for different organizations based on one agent or the other. So you can easily explore your data and understand the numbers you see here on the screen. So this is a typical use case. It's a reporting dashboard specific to service management. I'd like to show a different type of dashboard because it's true that reporting is one of the main use cases covered by dashboards in general and by rich filter in particular. But there are also dashboards which have nothing to do with reporting. So here I'll provide a different example. It's also for service management projects, but see here, this is a feature we introduced recently. I display here support queues. Okay, so I believe you are familiar with the support queues provided natively by Jira in service management projects, which is pretty nice functionality. One limitation of the service management out of the box queues is that they are not cross project, and many times it happens that you have more than one service management project, and you would like to work on those queues cross project because you might have the same agents who are serving all the service management at the same time. So it's hard to look at different queues at the same time. So here we display support queues. So this is completely configurable. For instance, waiting for support, and you display the issues which are waiting for our support. Of course, you can have different views, and this is entirely under your control. Different views for the same queue, and you can switch between the queues. We can look at the issues which are urgently need our attention. You can combine this with the filter on the left. So in fact, one queue becomes like several queues at the same time, right? I have here waiting for support, and I can say, well, let's select myself, and now I will see the issues which are waiting for my support. So I need, as a support agent, to reply to this. Okay, so this combination between queues and the controller has a lot of power, as it allows me to easily see what I have to do and to power the activity of service management. Other things on this dashboard, here we have a rich filter text panel. This is just a gadget which allows you to display text on the dashboard. You can use colors, bullet points, tables, I don't know, collapsible sections like this one. This is particularly useful for in this scenario because you might have relevant links for your support agents, instructions on how they should use this dashboard. it's very useful if you train support agents, because you can put here relevant information directly to them. Here I have two rich filter results, one with the queues and one on the bottom with all the issues. So why do I do this? Because, well, and I do myself a fair amount of support for each filters. Generally, how do I do? I have support request. I open the support request. I read, I preview the support request. I look here. I see what the user is asking from us, and then I can start to type a response, and this is saved here in the draft in case, I don't know, I get interrupted and this is closed. I find later my answer there. I think I clicked on another issue now, but the draft was saved there. But what I'm trying to say is that Jira provides this nice functionality here, similar requests. So the biggest knowledge base when you do support is all the support cases you have already handled in the past. And this similar request functionality is pretty nice. I mean, the idea is great. It's just that for me in practice, it didn't work as good as expected. So what I generally do, I do a search in the other support requests myself, because I know I can remember, well, maybe we handled something like this in the past, or I can look for some particular keyword. So here I start to use the controller and I search by text, and I don't know, look for a particular issues that we handled in the past, and I combine the controller, and I see if there were cases similar to the one I'm dealing with, and then that can serve as an information source for the new support cases. And this is useful for experienced support agents, and it's also useful for maybe, I don't know, more junior support agents who just start to do support for a particular application. So this is very powerful, this combination, which allows you to easily see the history of your support request, and to use that to answer the new support request you might have. Something else in this dashboard, again, a feature we introduced first on cloud, is rich filter issue activity stream. So this shows you the history of your issues. Okay, so I look at the issues. Jira has natively one gadget like this, but this one is more powerful because you can combine it, of course, with the controller. So now I want to see the history only for the issues where I'm the support agent, so those which are assigned to me. And now I can focus on that, and I can see what happened on the issues I'm managing. For example, order by time, so I can easily see what happened. Before having this gadget, I was personally using a lot of email notifications. So my email inbox would be like the activity stream. I will see what happened on my issue from the notifications. But I find this to be more powerful because, well, you can combine it easily with filters, and you can see what happened, and this this history doesn't disappear from here, so you can come and consult it later. And you can add some, I don't know, basic reporting to this dashboard. But the idea with this dashboard is that, this is what I was trying to say, is this is not a reporting dashboard, this is an operational dashboard. So this is a very different use case from the one I presented here. So this is pure reporting on service management. This one is pure operations. We manage the support activity. And this service management was just an example, but you can use the same mechanism very well in a Jira software project. For instance, I mean, a queue is just a list of issues. A list of issues can be anything. It can be your backlog, or it can be the current sprint you are working on, or it can be the top priority issues in your team. So this here in this this other dashboard is Jira software example. Okay, so this is particularly useful. This mechanism of queues is very useful when you're trying to deal with list of issues in general. So I think we went through different examples of dashboards. You've seen you can do statistics, you can do charts, you can do, I don't know, created versus resolved charts, gauges, counters, list of issues, and combine this with the filter. So this is the basically what you can do. So you have all this is configurable, and you have a lot of power at your disposal to build these dashboards. Now, I would like to use the next minutes to show you, because you might be asking yourself, okay, this is very nice, but how do I build these dashboards myself? Maybe I want to build this for myself. This brings a lot of power, but it's of course it's important that I can build this for myself. So I will show you how to do this. So first of all, the app is called Rich Filter, because all these gadgets here, all the gadgets you've seen so far, which you call Rich Filter gadgets, are based on a data source which is called Rich Filter. So all the gadgets, if you configure them, you'll see the first setting is a Rich Filter. So the Rich Filter is the object, is a data source which powers everything here. Okay, and this is what links together this gadget. This controls this gadget here, because they are based on the same Rich Filter. Okay, the Rich Filters are available here, apps Rich Filters. And here, the idea is that I define a Rich Filter. So I was also saying the Rich Filter is just a data source based on a Jira filter. In this case, I have this Jira filter as a. So the idea is just like if you are familiar with Agile boards, is the same idea. An Agile board is powered by a Jira filter, and it's the same thing here. This Rich Filter is powered by this base Jira filter, and in the end, it's just a JQL. So these are all the issues that will enter in your dashboard, and then you decide what you want to do with those issues. But this is the set of issues that is relevant to you. And then you have all sorts of configuration items here on the left, and these items you are then going to use in your dashboard. Okay, so what I propose to do now would be let's create a Rich Filter for ourselves, and then let's use that in a dashboard. So I'll say create Rich Filter here, and I'll name this demo LA. And I will say, well, I want this to be based on this Jira filter, all software issues. Okay, so it's just a name and a filter. And I hit the create button, and the Rich Filter has been created for me. I'm the administrator of this Rich Filter, and it's based on this filter I have picked in the previous step. So far, very easy. Now, let me create a dashboard, and let me base my dashboard on that Rich Filter. So I create a dashboard named Demo LA again, and I create it like any Jira dashboard. Here in other gadgets, I will type Rich. So this will give you all the Rich Filter gadgets. So this is a list with the different gadget types we have seen previously, and I will add a controller, and I will add the Rich Filter results. Okay, so the Rich Filter results is a one which allows you to display a list of issues. And let me change the layout of this dashboard. So now I'll configure my controller to use a demo LA Rich Filter we have just created, and the same for the Rich Filter results. And I will submit the to gadget configuration. So this is all I've done so far. I've created a Rich Filter based on a Jira filter, and I just use that into gadgets. And you see already, because I haven't configured anything, I can here in the controller type JQL, and this will be applied to the gadget next to it. So I say priority equals highest, for instance, and I apply this, and this is fed into the Rich Filter results gadgets here on the screen. Of course, I would like to make this better for my users. So some of them might know JQL, but it's better if this experience can be improved. So we'll go back at the Rich Filter, and now we look at static filter. So I say create static filter, and these are like on-off buttons, like in the Jira Agile boards. If you are familiar with this, you just type a name and a JQL, and that's applied to your issue. So I say top priority, for instance, that's the name of the static filter, and I will use the JQL, let's say priority in highest and high. So this is, I use the autocomplete functionality, and I'll type JQL here. So I have a button which is called top priority, a static filter, and I apply this JQL, and let me define another one, closed, for example, and I will say, well, status equals closed. This is what closed means to me. So I define two static filter, top priority, and closed. Now, if I go back to my dashboard, if I click the refresh button, well, you see now I have the two buttons. Okay, so if I hit top priority, this will apply the filtering on the gadget. So I see only the top priority issues. If I hit on closed again, this will apply the closed filtering. Okay, so this is already something. I have two buttons and I configure those, and those apply to my dashboard. And maybe allow me to add two more gadgets to the dashboard to make it more meaningful to me. I will add a simple counter. So a simple counter, just as its name implies, I will base it on the same demo LA rich filter. Just allows me to sum up numbers. Okay, so I say, well, I want to see the issue count of all the issues here, and I want to see the total story points in these issues, and maybe I want to, sorry, and I also want to see the let's say the time spent for my issues. Okay, so when I submit this now, I see here I have 158 issues in this dashboard. I knew this already, for a total of 323 story points, and this time spent in all these issues. And of course, this reacts to the filters I might be applying from the controller. And maybe allow me to add also a statistic gadget, a very simple one, rich filter statistic. This does a one-dimensional statistic. So based on the same rich filter, and I will say, well, I want to see this by priority, and I want to see again the issue count and the story points and the time spent. And I save this and I move this here. So it's the same thing, but split by dimension, by a field. I choose priority, but it could have been any other field. So this does a statistic based on this. And of course, again, this reacts to my controller gadget. Okay, so now I start to have a dashboard with, I display a list of issues. I display some basic statistics based on this, some counters and one-dimensional statistic, and I can control that with my controller gadget. So my dashboard starts to bring some value already with this. But let's look now a bit more at the rich filter results. So this is a default view. It has a priority key summary, but I can control it, and I want to display some more meaningful information for me. So I go back here to the rich filter, and I hit views, and now I can create views for my rich filter results. So I say, okay, let's have a main view, and in this view I'll have the issue type, maybe the key, summary, reporter, and let's say status. And we can have as many views as we want. Let's copy this view so that I don't have to type this again, and I'll have another view called detailed with more detailed information, and I'll copy this, and now I'm in the view detailed, and I'll also add here, let's say the assignee and the resolution, and maybe story points, and let's say time spent the time spent field. So I can drag and drop here and add this in the position that, I don't know, makes sense to me. And now you see I have two views. I have the main view I have created. I mean, just a name, I gave it this name, and a second view called detailed, where I have more information. So now if I go back to my dashboard, if I hit the refresh button, you'll see already my gadget displays the two views. Okay, so you can have as many views as you want. The idea here is that different people might want to look at different information. Okay, so I was giving this example earlier. The product team might want to look at some fields, and I know the developers might want to look at something else, the support agents, and so on and so forth. And this way, you can control and have meaningful views for your users. Typically, with the native gadget, what I was doing when I was configuring dashboards before using rich filters, we were just adding there all the fields that were necessary for everybody, and we just end up with a horizontal scroll bar, which is never nice. And it's also very difficult to find your information. So that's the idea with the views. Let's get back to the filtering experience. So we've seen earlier, we added two static filters here in the controller. Let's now move on and look at what is called dynamic filters. So dynamic filters allow you to say, well, I want to filter by a field, let's say project in this case, or I don't know, assigning, or let's filter by story points, or by, I don't know, created, or by due date. So you can filter pretty much by any Jira field. I just added a bunch of dynamic filters. You see here, when I go back to my dashboard, if I refresh now, well, I have all these filters here. Okay, so I added project. Now I go here and I see, well, this is a drop down and I can filter by project. So it's as easy as this. I added the field project, then I can filter by project. And what's important here is that this field is contextual. This dynamic filter is contextual, right? I might have on my instance 200 projects, but this will display me only the projects that actually exist in my issues, okay? Imagine the same use case with Assignee. You might be on an instance with 10,000 users, but on your project, you have only 5 people who work on your issue. So the dynamic filter will display automatically only those people who are actually relevant for your issues. So all this is about relevance, is about finding the stuff you're looking for easily. Okay, so now I can apply the dynamic filters and you get the idea. I can filter on story points. I can filter on the date fields I have added. Let's see all the issues which are due today. I apply this, and now this is applied to my dashboard. And the same, I can filter by text. Let's say summary, or I don't know, by comment, or by let's say contains text. So this is contains text. This is a special dynamic filter. Is all the text fields together. Summary, description, I don't know, environment, any custom text fields you might have, and the comments all together. And I just add that in the rich filter, and then I have this in the controller. Everything you see here can be further customized. For instance, in the gadget, I can go in my gadget and I can customize the order of the quick filters. I can add this to different sections here. I had an example earlier. Here you see I organize my quick filters in sections. So the idea is to guide your users and to make this experience as useful for them as possible. So we've seen so far the static filters, the dynamic filters, and the views. We've seen how this can be added to your rich filter and then easily used in your dashboard. Let's now discover one more gadget type, and let's look at the flexi charts gadget. So let me move this here, and the same. I base this on the demo LA rich filter. I say, well, I want to see a pie chart. Here, the chart type allows me to choose from the different types of charts that I can display. So there are one-dimensional charts, like the pie chart, like a bar chart or line or tree map. And there are two-dimensional charts, cluster bar, stack bar, and multi-line. So let's say I choose pie chart and I want to see a pie chart by assigning. And I want to see the results based on, I don't know, it can be issue count or it can be based on the story points field. And I just submit this. And now I have a pie chart based on these fields that I have just choose. Okay, so but this flex chart, this could have been any other charts from those you have seen in the list. Let me now add another gadget. And let's look, we've seen a statistic gadget, one-dimensional. Let's now look at a two-dimensional statistic gadget. So it's the same idea as with the one-dimensional statistic gadget. I base this on the demo LA rich filter. And then let's say I want to see this on the horizontal axis by priority. And let's say by assigning here. And I want to see this, the values based on the time spent field. So it's as easy as this. Basically, you configure the two dimensions, priority, assigning in this case, and the value. Of course, then you can, for each dimension, you can choose to, I don't know, filter out none, or to change the order of the options, or I don't know, the number of rows or the number of columns. So these are secondary options that you might use to fully control the information that will be displayed in your dashboard. And now I have added the two-dimensional gadget to my dashboard. I have used these fields, assignee and priority, but it could have been anything else. It could have been a date field, for example, and I could have displayed a statistics based on date fields. Okay, so you get the idea. Already my dashboard starts to display some useful information. Let's now look again at the rich filter and to see some of the other options. So we've seen static filters, dynamic filters. Let's now look at the functionality called smart filters. Just give me a second. Okay. So here I will a smart filter. It's a different type of filter comparing to the others. I had an example here in the initial dashboard. For instance, this is a smart filter. I implemented the idea of team. Okay, I have the orange team in my dashboard and the green team, and I will show you how exactly I've done this. Okay, so I go here and I create a smart filter called team, and inside the smart filter you can create clauses. Okay, so let's say, well, I want to have a clause which is called the green team. So I'll go here, or yeah, the first one is green team, and it has, I can insert this a JQL. I can insert here a JQL that makes sense. I say, well, the assignee members of green team, but it could have been anything else, and I insert another team which is orange team. So it's a new clause with this different JQL. So I have a smart filter now called team, which has two clauses, green team and orange team, and I inserted a different JQL for each of the teams. Okay, and now if I look again at my dashboard, if I refresh the controller, I see, first of all, this as a filter in my controller. Okay, so instead of, I don't know, selecting every time all the members of a team one by one, I can go here and select the entire team altogether. So the smart filters, first of all, they are useful for filtering, but as you're going to see, they're more powerful than this. So first use is in the control, but then once I define the smart filter, I can use it in my views if I want. So here you see it appears as a column in the views. I say, well, let me put this team field here, and I don't know, I can customize the display options, the way this has to be displayed, the heading and everything can be customized. And when I refresh now my dashboard, you see this appears here as a column in my rich filter results. So you see, this is particularly powerful because it's like a computed field. It's based on the assignee field in this case. This is how I configure it, but I could have configured it differently. And I don't have to be an administrator for this. And this is nice because anyone can configure this kind of field. And this highlights my information. I can easily see which issue it's in which team. Again, I could have had as many teams as I wanted, and I could have implemented anything else based on JQL, like a high-level status to group some of the status together, or anything else. So we've seen the smart filters in controller, and we've seen the smart filters in the rich filter results. Oh, let me show you something else. I've used this team in the detailed view, but I can use it in the main view also. And for instance, I can decide that I want to display this in a more compact way. So I say, well, I want to see the colors only, and the heading, I want only the smart filter initials, which would be the letter T in this case, because it's the name is T. The idea is that I want to be able to display this in a very compact way. You see, it's just like a visual marker here. The idea being that I want to be able to include as much information as I want in my dashboards, and I want to see this easily. So you see, I have the effect I create here is like the field collapses when it's changed between the two views. Okay, so this is entirely under your control, and you can decide to use this any way it makes sense to you. So I use this in the rich filter results. Now, what's nice about the smart filters is that you can use them also in statistics. Okay, so here I go to the statistic gadget, to the flexi chart, for example, and I say, well, I want to base this on the team smart filter, and now I have a chart based on the team filter. Okay, I can go to my statistic gadget and I say, well, the same, I want this to be based on the team smart filter. So, and now I have a statistic by team here in the gadget. So you see, this is very powerful. Again, this acts as if it was a field, but it's not a field. It's completely created by me, and it's entirely based on JQL, and it's like a computed field. And I can. And the nice part is that it's not like a scripted field, because I don't have to script anything, and I don't have to be an administrator to create this. And this gives me a lot of flexibility. So that's the idea with the smart filters. Of course, we could have done other examples too. For I don't know. Let me show you a different example here of a smart filter. So in my demo smart filter, you see I implemented the team idea, but also the high-level status. Okay, so here I said, well, I want all the issues which are open, reopen, or accepted. I want this to be called backlog, for instance. It's a high-level status, and I want all the, I don't know, issues in the status is review and resolve to be called validation. So I implemented the high-level status only by this, and then I can display and filter and do statistics by this. Okay, so the workflow maybe is more detailed, but I display information based on a more high-level status. Or I implemented the idea of risk. We display, well, risk matrix. Well, if the issues respect this JQL, and it could have been anything you wanted, you can we display this as a risk marker here in the gadget. Okay, so this can be very, very powerful, and gives you a lot of flexibility in your dashboard. So let me get back to my demo LA. Rich filter. So it's in smart filters. Let's also have a rapid view at the concept of queues. Okay, so this is a new feature we introduced on both server and server data center and cloud, all the hosting options. As I was saying, these are list of issues. So I create a queue, let's say called, let's say, I don't know, backlog. And here I will say status equals open. And so a queue is basically a list of issues, and I can decide, okay, what issues I have in my list, and which are the views I'm going to apply to my list of issues. So let's have a queue called backlog. Let's have another one called work in progress, and I will say status equals in progress. I don't know. I'll put this like this, and I give it a color, let's say orange. And let's have another queue called I don't know, urgent. So let's say here we need absolutely to look at the issues which have priority highest and which are unresolved. Let's say the resolution is empty, and maybe, I don't know, due date it's in less than 2 days or anything like that. And I decide here I want to see only this particular view. So I create here all these queues together. So I have 3 queues: backlog, work in progress, and urgent. Maybe let's create a 4th one. Well, we say, well, here we want to see the closed issue. So closed, and I will say here status equals closed. And I have all these queues. Now all I have to do is to go to my rich filter result gadgets and say, instead of displaying all the issues, I want you to display the queues. And when I submit this, now I see the queues displayed here, and I have the different issues displayed in the queues. And for each queue, I have the exact views that I have configured for each of the queue individually. Okay, so This allows me to handle list of queues in general, and this can be very powerful also in a service management context, but not only in a Jira software context. Also, a queue can be anything like the issues in your current sprint or your backlog, or I know recently closed, or issues assigned to you, or whatever list of issues might be relevant to you. And then I can go to the views, and here I displayed in the detailed views, I displayed the time spent and story points and other numeric fields, and I say, well, I want to see for all of this, I want to see the totals of this numeric fields, and all I have to do is to refresh my dashboard, and now the gadget starts to display the totals for those values. I can go on here and say, well, I want to display a particular number of decimals. I want to apply, I don't know, a particular formula. And it's as simple as this. I refresh here, and I know that formula is now applied. And on average, you have 3.3 story points in our issue. So you get a bit the idea and how you can combine these filters. Now we went through the main features of the product. We looked at the static filter, dynamic and smart filters to the views and queues. Custom values, custom ratios, and time series are slightly more advanced notions. They are not so complicated. It's just I don't know if we will have time to go through this. Once it's the same as everything else, once you define them, then you can start to use them in your rich filter, right? So you see, the idea here is that you can build dashboard a bit like, I don't know, like Lego blocks. You can build whatever makes sense to you. You define views, which you then use in queues, which then you use in your gadgets, and you can build whatever makes sense to you. And you can customize pretty much everything you see here on the screen, from the way it's displayed, the heading, the color, the way, I don't know, the number of decimals and or number fields, or how you display time tracking values in days, in hours, in whatever makes sense to you. And the idea is that you can build your dashboards in a way that makes sense for you and for your users. Rich Filter is a framework for dashboards, is a toolbox. It allows you to combine all these features. Each of these features is simple in itself, but when combined together, all these features together, this can become extremely powerful. So it gives you all this freedom to build all these powerful dashboards. I think we could go through questions now, if you think if it makes sense to you. Maybe we'll I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, Dan, thank you so much. I can start off with a question or two myself, and then see if anyone else in the community has some questions for sure. Let's jump in. But what's the experience of with like insight fields? I've used tools in the past that had some struggles with how they work with insight. Do you have any?
Yeah, I can answer this. So on server data center version of the product, it's absolutely no problem. You have the insight fields. We do not currently support insight fields on the cloud version, and the reason is that Atlassian so far did not provide the necessary support for app vendors so that we can actually use this easily. So in fact, there is an issue that we and like many other vendors, we reported to the Atlassian. They don't provide currently the proper authentication methods for vendors to use the APIs provided by Insight. So there is an issue here. I don't know if it's this is an issue which is reported by us and by a lot of other people, and this is indeed a major blocker for everything related to using Insight fields in apps on cloud. But there is a method which would require a bit more configuration. We plan to do this in the next one of the next 3 releases. is to allow you to configure a connector for your inside field. So you'll need to use an API key of one user who has access to the connect fields, and we will use that API key to interact with inside. So today is not supported for the reasons I have just explained. But I think we can. There are some vendors who use this solution, which is not the best one. It would be nice if this would work just out of the box without configuring any connectors. But with a connector, it might be. I mean, it's better than not having support for inside fields at all. So we are going to pretty much do the same for everybody. I'm just trying to say why we don't yet have support for inside fields, because we're kind of hoping that Atlassian will fix this. We discussed with our partner manager from Atlassian, and we understood that this is not going to happen in the immediate in the next week, so probably it will be a while. So then we'll move on and probably use the connector. We agree it's one of the most requested features. A lot of people ask us about inside fields on the cloud version of the product, and we agree, especially because I was talking here about support queues. I was talking about Jira Service Management and how you handle all this. Yeah, inside fields would be very useful in that particular context. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I've heard some of the other complaints from other app makers. And before I ask another question, I'll pause and see if anyone else here in the community has any questions they want to ask. Anybody?
Dan, Shauna here. I had a question for the rich filter controller. What's the maximum number you can have? Like as the search, you have a bunch of search as an example here, but what's the maximum you can put in here?
As many as you want. We have a limit in the rich filter itself. So in the rich filter, if I look at the rich filter, we have, I think, a limit of 30 static filter, dynamic filters. I don't remember, it's 30 or 50 now. Okay. And smart filters. So yeah, no, if you add all the filters you can add, I mean, this controller would become like huge.
Yeah, thank
so
you. No,
normally it should not be a limit that should bother you. I mean, if in your project you have more than, I don't know, 50 meaningful fields, it means it's super complicated already if you need to filter on all of those.
Thank you. Lucas, I know you're trying to get your mic to work.
Hi Dan, Sakib here. Thank you for the presentation. My question is from rich filter side. The dynamic fields, does it has cascading functionality?
When you say cascading, so you mean like support for cascaded fields, or
yes.
So yeah, you can add filters on the cascade fields, but I don't have an example here. Also, when you say cascading, can mean something else. Means something like when, let's say, I select status here, and imagine in status I have only issues in the priority low, let's say.
Yeah, this one I'm talking about this one.
No, this one it's we don't currently have, so it would be useful. It is a very requested feature, both on server data center and cloud. It's not currently available. It would be useful. It's not a matter of that we don't want to do it. It's just technically it's not very easily to. I mean, we agree it would be better. It would be the filters would be more contextual, more meaningful than they are today. Already, I think we did good progress comparing with the navigation experience in the issue navigator. As I was telling you, the field here in the issue navigator provides you, I don't know, the options which are not necessarily very contextual and always. If this was cascaded like this, as you described, yeah, it would have been better, but it's also not very easily achievable. We plan to work on this in the future, though. We agree it would be a nice thing.
Thank you.
Can you all hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. And now I've
Okay.
seen your message on the chat, but now we can hear you.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I was
directly.
going to say that this is great. I use standard Jira dashboards frequently, but this takes it to another level. My question is just given how many features there are there any best kind of prepackaged or use case based dashboards based on, hey, we know that typically for this user persona, they want to report on these things to make it a little bit easier to get into using these dashboards with quick rich filters? Or is it something where, just the world is your oyster and you can just dig in where you can? Because for me, it's awesome. There's just a lot to process.
So I completely agree with you. I agree that we don't currently have some prepackaged dashboards or rich filters, and I completely agree this would have been very useful. So this is something we plan to work on in the future. It was not possible technically until recently. So the APIs, at least on cloud, the APIs provided by Atlassian did not allow you to programmatically build dashboards. Okay, so there was no API to click on this button to add gadgets, to configure them, and to I've seen recently, and by recently I mean I think a couple of months already now, they added an API. I haven't looked in detail into that, but I have the feeling that now it becomes technically possible to do this. So I agree this is something we should do in the future. So I could imagine, I don't know, you have a Jira filter and you say I want to build a rich filter based on this with I don't know, some basic configuration using the main fields, and generally you have reporter, assignee, summary, description. I mean, any Jira implementation would use status resolution would use those. And to deploy automatically some rich filters with some basic configuration at least, and maybe some basic dashboard which with a bunch of gadgets with some typical configuration. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just imagining here now, I don't know, build some sort of template for this, where I don't know, you define a template and then you say, well, I want to use that template to build automatically rich filters and dashboards based on those rich filters. So yeah, this is a good idea. I agree. There are different types of users. So on the one hand, you have the people who generally do Jira implementations, like power users, I don't know, administrators, partners in general, or power users in different organizations, and they prefer to configure everything themselves from scratch because they want to have full control on absolutely every little detail, and they build dashboards for their users. But you can also have users who, let's say, are not used to configure as much, and particularly for them, this kind of functionality would bring a lot of value to deploy in a few clicks some basic dashboards at least.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm going to follow up with one more question that I asked you right before we started this, but we didn't have everybody on the call yet. It'd be good for them to hear as well, as the being able to have some kind of variable. And the use case I used was the portfolio. If you're trying to do any kind of reporting, you have to be very explicit with the key, like issuing portfolio child of, and then you put the key in there. Having something where, if based upon what I've selected, I can have it perform that query and to kind of put a variable in there based on what I selected would be great. And,
yeah.
If you don't mind sharing your update on that one, Dan.
This is also one of the features that is been requested a lot in the last, I don't know, couple of years. I would see this particularly powerful in the server and data center setting, where a lot of our users, I mean, everybody who uses Jira, I don't know, a lot of people also use Script Runner, which is a very powerful tool because it gives you all that JQL toolbox and you can do so much filtering. And there we see a lot of potential of using such of type of filtering where you have like a variable. Imagine here you say, well, I have a drop down with a variable, and then when that's selected, I want you to use that in a JQL template. Imagine here, this is a signee, but maybe I want to see the issues where myself, I'm either reporter or a signee, let's say. So the JQL template would be a reporter equals variable or a signee equals variable. So then you select this and you generate that JQL. So we've had this feature in our backlog for a while now. It would be nice to allow users to, so this goes to the other spectrum comparing to the question Lucas just asked, that templates, basic dashboards is more for basic and users who don't configure as much. And this question mark, we just ask with a variable, with a template and everything, is more for power users who want to be able to power that experience and to be able to filter on pretty much everything. So we don't have that today, but I agree with you. It would be extremely powerful, and I see that particularly powerful in the data center environment. So we hope to work on that in the future.
Excellent. Anyone else? And also want to be mindful. It's only 4:15 now for Dan at this point.
It's all right now. I'm.
You're fully awake. You're not going back to sleep.
Probably not. Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I'm good. Thanks a lot, Dan.
Yeah, Dan, thank you
for
again
having
so
me
much.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, you taking the time, and I can say this is one of those things for me when I'm working with on a new instance. It's one of the first things I try to do is, can I get rich filters added to that instance, because it is such a powerful add-on to the dashboard, especially if you're doing something more than one project type reporting. As soon as you get multi-project, you need something that's got a little bit more power to it. So you guys have a great product here.
Thank you. Do you see? Let me ask you a question, because you told me before, Mark, and you used Rich Filter quite extensively for a while. Do you see Rich Filters as a reporting app or not necessarily?
When you say reporting, I've used it for for dashboards, but I also have used it to help me with like cleanup activity. So I'll use it to create a dashboard, but that dashboard is like a point in time purpose to be able to, like, we used to use all these labels, and I need to be able to capture like all the different ways they've used labels and show them a report that they wouldn't be able to get otherwise, to help identify where they need to make changes to things. So it's I've used it as a tool, but if that's what you mean there, I've used it in ways that are not really like ongoing dashboards, but really just help me with, maybe I'm in discovery on something or just trying to clean up an environment.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, no, reporting part is obviously a massive use case, and a lot of people want to do reporting on their Jira issues. But this is what I was also trying to show today, that there are also other scenarios which are not necessarily reporting related, like queues and views. Generally, how you manage list of issues. If you work on a particular sprint, if you do backlog grooming, that's not necessarily reporting the way you interact and prioritize stuff. So this is also a kind of scenario which I think is very powerful, and
yeah, the queues
it's not necessarily
definitely
charts and statistics and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm still wrapping my head around that one, because obviously queues isn't on server. So that was
Yes, it
something
is.
that I was...
It is on
Oh,
server
it is?
also. Yeah, it's
Oh,
introduced
maybe they
recently.
just haven't updated it on the environment I'm in.
We released that, I don't know, like 3 weeks ago, but it's available
Okay.
on server too. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that the admins in that environment added, so that because they're starting to get hot and heavy with JSM, and I can see where that could be very useful for their environment as well.
And also on server, we have the auto refresh capability, which combined with all of that, it's particular. I mean, that was the idea when we developed all these features. We had this vision in mind from the beginning: issue actions to modify your issues from the dashboard, queues, and auto refresh all together. have this power, provide this
Very
experience.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, again, Dan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. And if any, just one last quick call here for community. Anybody got any questions that came to mind before we let Dan be able to finally go and I guess enjoy his morning now?
Good.
All right. Again,
Thank you, everybody.
Dan.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you for having me here. So
Yeah.
have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, take care.
So, any of the it looks like our community is all dropping off, so which is fine because I know that that was a one that was pretty involved. So yeah, I guess well, we do have two community members that stuck around here. Saqib, Sarah, anything that you wanted to talk about that was just not related to this, and anything community wise that you have on your brain? All right. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording then.